Alrighty then, my dudes. We have now moved in to the top 10 of the blacklist. And where our next opponent is Carl Smith, where he drives a Porsche Cayman S, and his strength is in fractions. This flake calls himself Baron. He's a rich guy from the coast. He thinks Garage Custom is an excuse for being broke. As far as he's concerned, if it's not name brand, it's nothing. Go show him what homegrown rides can do. I will, yo. I've beaten Lee Park, now I have to go after Carl Smith. And also watch a miniature movie about him. I think we're gonna get a cutscene here. But either way, that was the miniature movie introduction to Baron.
Well, looks like the hero boy's moving up in the world, huh? Don't get too excited, punk, you still ain't rolling my streets. And if I have anything to say about it, you never will.
Razor, I wouldn't speak too soon. Especially considering the recent run I can now confidently say I have been on. Saying I never will have anything to say about rolling around your streets? Well, you've got another thing coming. I will prove myself to you. Because I've done it before. Well, I mean I've beaten games before, but whatever, you know what I meant. I've been in tight spots like this before, and I have managed to come out on top. As we are now 25% done with the game. And before we do anything else, I obviously have to save the game, because, well, that's kind of how I do these things. And also to make sure that I don't have to go back and, well, just grind myself to the point where I eventually give up. But I know that's not going to happen. Anyway, let's switch over to, once I can find it, here it is, the Mitsubishi Eclipse. And I think I might actually keep that vinyl the same, because I actually quite like that Tiger vinyl. I think that actually goes really well with this car. Although I will have to make a few changes along the way. Oh, that's not where I wanted to go. I meant to return to the free roam. Sorry about that. Anyway. We've got ourselves a new car, and what that now means is we are going to head up to the parts house. Is that what it's called? Oh, it's just called shop. Whatever. I refer to it as the parts store, so it is what it is. Anyway, let's see what performance parts we have. Okay, so we got stage 2 engine, stage 2 transmission. What else do we have? Okay, stage 2 suspension. And stage 2 nitrous. I think that's one of the parts we unlocked. And I think we've got brakes. Yeah, we do have brakes. And still haven't got the turbo yet. Yeah, I might have to consider selling 1 or 2 cars at some point, as much as I really don't want to. But I think first of all, I'll put on the engine upgrade, because I think that'll be needed. I'll also put on the suspension upgrade, because I reckon that may also be needed. And I think the other one I'll go with... yeah, let's do nitrous. And I think the last one... can we put on a new set of tyres? Okay, not yet. How much is it for the transmission? It's expensive. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna risk it. It might be pricey, but I think it's worth the risk. Depending on what rewards we get afterwards. You know what? I might as well just get all of them. I know they're expensive, but I will get these parts fitted in the hopes of saying that the rewards I get from the race events will be worth it. So yeah, I'm gonna check out with these things. And I think the only thing I will really change on this thing is the paint. Because I can. And you know what? I think I'll change this thing to... what colour have I not used yet? I haven't used blue yet, have I? At least I don't think I have. Yeah, I'll change this thing to blue. And how much does it cost to paint the rims? You know what? The paint job's the only thing I'm going to change here. I think that's the only thing I really need to change physically. I pretty much spent all my other money on performance parts anyway, so... yeah, I might have to consider using this thing more than once. Anyway, let's go back to the safe house and get on with some race events. With our 6th ride in the game. So... okay, so we have to do a minimum of 5 race events, but we have a total of 8 to do here. And... yeah, I can work with that. We'll pretty much get... yeah, we'll get 40 grand if we win all these. So, you know what? Yeah, I think the upgrades probably were worth the risk. However, before we do anything else, I'm gonna try and get a shot of this thing. I did want to put my number on it initially, but I think because that Tiger vinyl just goes so well with this car, I figure it's just easier for me to just leave everything else the same except for the colour. That's what I eventually decided. I do seem to get more of a visual view from the right-hand side than I do from the left-hand side. Actually, you know what? I will sort out my thumbnail shot afterwards. I'm basically just spoiling for time if I do that. Anyway, let's head to Ocean Hills for our first lap knockout. Plus, I know a lot of you aren't really bothered about how I get my thumbnail shots. So, you know, anyway. So we got a Ford Mustang, an Evo 8, and Audi TT. And that's all. And that's a car. Oh, high understeer. Okay. Sure, this car may not be as good as the RX-8, but I think I can still manage to make this car work under the given circumstances, if that makes any sense. But anyway, closing in on the Ford Mustang, and I now take the lead over from Hermpton. How I avoided that car, I will probably never know. And yep, I slide straight into the wall. I'm honestly not surprised. But that's okay, because we still have plenty of time to make up for lost ground. As long as I can stay out of last. Basically, that's just the thing with lap knockouts in this game, as well as pretty much any other lap knockout you see. The key is to make sure you stay out of last, and then you can basically just keep progressing onwards depending on however many laps you have to do to get to the end. You just have to make sure that you're out of last once you get to the end of each of them, and then, well, last man standing is basically the winner. I think that's how lap knockout races work. If you're wanting a TLDR description of how it works, or more or less how it works, as we're back up onto the boardwalk. And Hermpton in the Ford Mustang, who led early on, is the first one to die. So Mervyn is currently third, and I couldn't quite see who the guy was behind me. Oh, it's Butler. Butler is the one behind me. And off the throttle, because I don't want to over rev on the engine. And okay, I think Butler is the one in the Audi. Yeah, okay, so Butler is the one in the Audi TT, so that means that Mervyn must be the one in the Evo 8. And I missed the shortcut again. But at least I managed to get around the corner this time, which is one good thing that comes out of this. The only reason why I chose the paint job in terms of the only thing I would really change on this thing as well, because, well, the upgrades, they were already expensive enough. But I figured, well, just because I wanted to make sure that this car would be virtually unchanged because I liked it the way it was. The only thing I really changed on this thing was the paint job. Because, well, I figured by trading paint... Sorry, changing paint, don't know why I said trading, but by changing the paint, it would at least be enough to make it look like this car was mine. And saying that I pretty much won it fair and square. And Butler has now been knocked out, so that just leaves me and Mervyn for this final lap to basically duke it out. The battle of the Mitsus is what it is between us. And off the throttle whilst in midair. It's probably the best way to sort that whole issue out. And I run into a truck. But you know what? That's okay, because we are doing okay for now. A little bit early there on the brakes, but at least I am able to make the shortcut this time. Or the short shoot, I should say. But either way, I did manage to make it this time. And taking another short shoot, supposedly. And it looks like I have managed to establish my equilibrium with the Eclipse. I think that was another shortcut I could have taken, but it probably wouldn't have mattered because, well, it would have taken me off course anyway. So back down the hill once again. Still got a few more corners left to negotiate as we're back on downtown. And back on the boardwalk once again, and my knockout win streak continues as I finish with 156 at the end. And it took me 7 minutes and 3 seconds to get through that. Top speed in the end of 182 and an average speed of 108. The Eclipse has beaten the Mitsu. Sorry, the Eclipse has beaten the Lancer Evo 8 in terms of supremacy, as Mervyn set a top speed of 171, Hermpton a top speed of 153, and Butler a top speed of 165. As my margin of victory in the end was 4.7 seconds. Okay, first one down.
Multiple code 6 parties have been reported.
And right before the cops intervene, I will go straight back to the safe house to get on with our next event, as I am now back up to 25 grand. So next up, we are at Bayshore for lap knockout number 2. We've beaten Ocean Hills, now we move on to Bayshore as the game loads. Okay, so this time we got an Audi TT, a Porsche 911, and I couldn't quite see what the other car was. Oh, it's a Mercedes CL, is that it? Is that one of the Mercedes CLs I see there? Or is that a CLK? I think that might be a CLK. I couldn't tell you which model, but I know it's definitely a Mercedes. But either way, we are currently running good. Oh, that's a shortcut. Wait, is that right? Is that a shortcut? Or have I gone off track? I don't know. Well, either way, it's managed to work because it's given me the lead. Momentarily. So the Porsche 911 briefly takes over the lead after I had that little scuffle there on the shortcut, but I can now confidently establish that is enough of a shortcut. And now, I don't know if this is a short shoot or a long shoot, but it feels like a short shoot, from what I can see. But just like that, I think that is a shortcut, because it's giving me the lead again. So Iceman is in this race in his Porsche 911. We also have Garci, and the other one is Molly as our opponents here at Bayshore. Oh, so that's what that time restraint does. Oh, I get it now. And I'm out. Yeah, let's try that again. Yeah, I think I spoke too soon with the, Yeah, I'm gonna pretend this never happened. Okay, so we've got an Audi TT, a Porsche 911, and I think that's a Mercedes CLK 500 if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's right. So I think Molly is the one in the Audi, Iceman is the one in the Porsche, so that must mean Garci is the one in the Merc. I think that's right. It's also a silver Merc, I might add, which is very traditional of a Mercedes. And just when it comes to German race cars in general, as in, you know, traditionally they are going to be, well, silver in terms of pretty much their paint colour schemes, if that makes any sense. So my lap knockout streak, whatever the fuck it was before, has now come to an end because, well, I was eliminated basically when I got caught out by what was happening in front of me. And that was more or less what got me eliminated. It was simply my fault for being eliminated, no one else's. I was just too distracted that I forgot where the finish line was. This time around, however, I will manage to get something established here. So Garci is the first one to go out in the silver Mercedes, so that just leaves Molly and Iceman left on the track. The reason I keep jumping to the safe house as well, because I know that sooner or later there will be cops involved, and when they do get involved, that's basically when I have to bail. Oh, there's actually 2 shortcuts. I did not notice that. That's actually very useful, as I now have a huge lead over Iceman. A 13-second lead, to be precise. So I think it's fair to say those shortcuts I took were extremely effective, because I now have rather surprisingly jumped out to a big lead, even though I don't think that's going to hold. But it was nice to have it while it lasted, so, you know, there is that. I am okay with that. Physically. So apparently, if you press down the toggle stick, you can actually slow time down, and Iceman is out, so that just leaves me and Molly, who has been scything down that gap I built up. So I think it's fair to say that Audi is fast. But I am glad to say that I'm holding it off. So rubber banding does seem to be pretty strong here. However, I will take the shortcut again. Hopefully I will not roll over. I have no idea how I avoided that. That definitely required a lot of skill in order for that to be pulled off, but I think it's fair to say my chances of winning at this point, providing I do not have anything major happen to me for these last 30 seconds, I would say the win is pretty much mine. Because I have now rocketed out to a big lead as a result of taking that shortcut again. As we are in the middle of a housing terrace, and that's a car. Fortunately, however, we don't have to deal with any pedestrians on the pavements, which I think is a good thing. Anyway, off the final corner. Molly was closing down that gap, but it was too little too late, as I put together a pretty dominant last 2 laps. So Molly finished second, Iceman third. Oh, Gardy is the name. Okay. And Gardy finished in 4th. Average speed of 99 and a top speed of 142. Iceman had the highest overall speed with an average speed of 69. Nice. And Molly had the top overall speed of 154 in her Audi TT, and she had an average speed of 103. And she finished 8.5 seconds behind me. Okay. That's fine by me.
Attention Town 2, numerous 911 calls are coming.
And again, jumping straight to the safe house, so cops don't have to meddle with my plans. 2 events down, 8 to go. Now we move on to Highway and Union for race event number 3. Let's go. Okay, here we go. So, not quite as many RPMs as what the... So not quite as many RPMs as what the RX-8 was giving me, but I think I have come to establish that with the right parts on this thing, this car is still pretty fast. Maybe not the fastest, but it's still pretty fast, if you fit the right parts to it. That's what I have come to establish. So we're now halfway there with the toll booths. But we still have a long way to go to get to the other toll booths. As I am almost at the halfway point. And we get given a huge chunk of time. So I think it's fair to say the 4th toll booth is a long way away. But as ever, I do have a fast car. I think that's pretty much the only thing I really need in order to realistically make a charge. For the last one. That should be more than enough time for me to make up. So, 70% is down, and we are still very much in the hunt. Could have taken that shortcut, but I think my car was probably too loose to realistically thread the needle. Could have done so if I really wanted to, but just wasn't to be, sadly. And on the brakes, through that right-hander, a short little downshift. Downshifting again so I can get through the corner. And there we go. With 30 seconds to spare, I cash in with my sector times. And a top speed in the end of 180 with an average speed of 123. And those are my toll booth times. So basically, more than enough time for me to get to the end. Or reach the end, basically.
Hey, listen up. People are talking. Now I know this ain't true, but they're saying you're working for the cops. Make sure you prove them wrong. I'll take care of the guy spreading the rumor.
Cheers, Raj. I think someone saying that I work for the cops, that just simply ain't true. There is someone working for the cops, but I can assure you it is not me. Even though I'm pretty sure the veterans of this game probably already know that. But whatever. We have now done 3 Blacklist race events. And we still have another 5 to do, as we are now on to the other toll booth event. Alrighty, let's go. As I get off to a strong start, and now all that's really left for me to do is to make sure that I keep myself in place.
Patrol East, be advised. A vehicle moving at a high rate of speed was just seen heading east near the Omega Power Station. Units to clear and set up.
Apparently we just passed a power station.
Suspect is in a blue Mitsubishi.
And there are going to be cops on my ass pretty soon. Yep, there they are. Very soon, in fact. Anyway, I have just got to lose these fools. I honestly had a feeling they were going to encounter me sooner or later, but... well, that was short-lived. Unless another one pops up. But either way, I had a feeling cops were going to show up eventually. It was only a matter of time before they did. I was pretty much moving at too fast of a rate of speed for there to not be cops showing up. Trying to pretty much bust my ride. Whilst I am here to very much, well, I guess you could say, pimp my ride. That was a popular TV show at the time, even though I'm pretty sure it was never aired in the UK. And we've got another one. Well, it was only a matter of time before it happened. But that's okay, because I am still in the position I need to be in. And so far, so good. And now they are dropping back.
The code 6 suspect was last seen westbound on Bristol Road. I have a go to set up a containment. Switch call over to tax 3.
I gotta say, the toll booths in this one, they're actually a lot more widespread than they were last time. But, and there's another one. I think that means I'm gonna have to take care of these fools. I almost downshifted there for no reason. But anyway, so through this last set of corners. And there we go. Easy win. And now I have to lose them. So those are my stats. Top speed of 181 and an average speed of 116 with just one traffic collision. And I finished with a massive 32 seconds to spare. Now, I gotta lose him, as I run past 2 pursuit breakers. does anything.
Bravo 27,
Okay.
I'm cruising in west
Does that do anything?
I have still no contact.
Come on. Come
Operation
on.
2 out of 12. The suspect may have moved north. Repeat, suspect may have moved north. Let's shift over.
Yeah, I might have to skip that whole pursuit thing because this wasn't exactly part of the plan, but... whatever. I still get the milestones, so... it is what it is. Getting your heat down. Pay attention to the heat of the car you're driving. Each car has its own heat level. The best way to keep the cops off your back is to make sure you don't let your heat get too high for the car you're driving. Each time your heat moves up a level, police tactics and vehicles step up too. You can cool your ride's heat by driving a different car and by winning races or evading pursuits. If you want to cool it down faster, change its looks, different paint, body kits, spoilers, etc. Not all changes make the same difference, but they all help. Remember, if you're going to lower the heat of a car, then make sure you drop it down a level for the best results against the cops. Mia, I will make sure to keep that in mind. So, how many milestones did we get for that? Oh, we got 2 of them. Okay. I guess I won't have to skip that one then. But anyway, we got a sprint race next. So, yeah, let's get on with that. I think I will not have to skip that pursuit. Even though I might have to skip 1 or 2 things that weren't milestones. But whatever. As we have got 2 Porsches here, along with a Volkswagen Golf GTI. And I come up short again. Can I at least finish second? Okay. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to pretty much Steve Young this event. And very much beat it on my 3rd try. Hopefully. Well, looks like I'm pretty much gonna have to Steve Young this event and see if I can manage to win this on my 3rd try. Especially since that's ironically what Steve Young more or less did against the all-conquering Dallas Cowboys in the 1994 NFC Championship game. Which is often hailed as being one of the greatest ever. Which is often hailed as being one of the greatest ever Cowboys v 49ers games in NFL history. It was basically just loaded with action from start to finish. And it was fair to say that there was a lot at stake, considering with the Cowboys, ironically like the Chiefs this past season, they were ironically going for a three-peat, especially since the Cowboys had won basically 2 Super Bowls before that. What they actually wound up doing was winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. And I'm not even joking when I say that. They actually won the Super Bowl 3 times in 4 years. It honestly would have been remarkable if the Cowboys would have achieved it. If the Cowboys were able to achieve not only a 3-peat but a 4-peat. However, because I am technically a Niners fan, I'm definitely glad to say Steve Young did manage to show that he could beat the all-conquering Cowboys. in the championship game. And ironically, I did a Steve Young in this event, because I won it on my third try. Third time's the charm, baby. Over Wasserman, Snap, and Roscoe. That was also a pretty competitive race as well, I might add. So the two Porsches beat Roscoe in his VW Golf, who won on the first attempt. Which I'm also pretty sure is the name of a dog, if I'm not mistaken. A celebrity dog, I might add. Anyway, moving on.
Rosewood District. We're receiving numerous calls from the public reporting street racers. Description matches wanted suspects.
Okay. So that is both the sprint races now done. And I gotta say, that second one, it was definitely a banger in terms of how competitive it was. Oh, that was the first one. Okay. So we did Boundary and Marina. And as for the toll booth events we did, those were Waterfront and Bristol and Highway 99 and Union. Now we move on to Stadium and Highway 1 for Sprint Race 2. I may have to do some more racing with the Eclipse before I move on to my next car. Especially since, well, my funds are kind of going down just a little bit. I'm also doing this because, well, I still want to maintain the cars I already have. So we got a Soup, a Cobalt, and an RX-8. Yeah, everything was going well until suddenly, after the halfway mark, my car just decided to fucking turn itself over. In other words, it basically just barrel rolled itself, and it was just on its roof. In other words, I basically flipped the car, and that was why I forced myself to restart, because, well, had I been stationary, I could have been busted, and that was why I had no choice but to restart. Because there were cops around, and I'm convinced in saying that would have been what could have busted me. And that would have been disaster. So cops are definitely going to show up in this race regardless.
I'll start over that way.
It's obvious to say they will definitely fucking spot me, regardless of what it is I do at some point. But just have to make sure that I get out to a big enough lead, and then hopefully, like with the previous one, I can manage to successfully pull off what will more or less be virtually a Steve Young style win again, like I did before, because this is now my third attempt at this. And well, the details about Steve Young winning the Super Bowl, I've already detailed those. Well, the fact that Steve Young did get to the Super Bowl and proved very much that that year San Francisco, with their 1994 super team, they basically were the team to beat that year. And it was also helped out with their defense being led by Deion Sanders. He became an integral part in improving San Fran's defensive unit, effectively turning them into basically a defense, essentially turning them into a super team, as they were during the 94 season. And that's ironically what the Philadelphia Eagles also were this year. because they just had so many playmakers that were just so integral in that roster, that because they practically were basically scoring machines with the playmakers they had, it was honestly just a matter of time before they would get back and win the Super Bowl. And I'm honestly not surprised to say that they demolished the Chiefs as well, which personally I think is pretty satisfying. Because, well, as I said before, I am a San Fran fan, so yeah. Because I too have kind of got tired of seeing the Chiefs winning all the time, I am kind of glad to say that someone was there to basically just, well, derail their momentum. I have nothing against the Chiefs personally, but I, along with the majority of the NFL fan base, well, we are glad to say they lost. And they lost. And they lost in dominant fashion as well. Anyway, gotta... Okay, I think the cops are gone. Okay, so that's now 6 events done. And just so they don't show up at the wrong time, and before I get clouted by that Toyota, I think anyway, let's go back to the safe house. And we will now get through Hospital Switchback. So cops are definitely showing up more often now. On now to the circuit race. But yeah, if you're asking about what the score was in Super Bowl 29, well, the score was basically 49-26. Steve Young on that day also threw for 6 touchdowns. The highest scoring Super Bowl with a combined score of 75. A record that still stands even today. From what I know at least. But anyway, so in this one we got a Golf, a Mustang, and an Audi A3. As we have got 2 Scars, Santos, and who's the other one? Snowman is the other one. But yeah, the game itself, well, as you might have guessed, if you know your Super Bowl history, you will know that it basically was... Steve Young in San Francisco that basically did give it to Sam Humphrey and the then San Diego Chargers. And I will give them credit where it's due, because they did score a lot of points in that game themselves. But then again, as I said before, because, well, San Francisco in '94, they were basically the NFL's super team that year. They, a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles this year, as I said before, they were very much the team to beat in terms of those high-scoring drives. I should also mention it was that year when Jerry Rice, prior to Travis Kelce, I think, became the highest-scoring receiver, became the highest-scoring offensive receiver of all time. Of course, Jerry Rice, well, he was a wide receiver, and well, Travis is technically a tight end. But either way, Jerry Rice still stands as the NFL's greatest wide receiver of all time. Meanwhile, Travis Kelce is technically one of the greatest tight end players of all time. I also wouldn't be surprised if he goes on for another year. At least. I mean, I know age has caught up to him this year, but I reckon he's still got at least another year left in him. If he does decide to keep going. I know Travis isn't done yet, from what I know. I'm strongly convinced in saying he does have another year left in him. And then he might retire because, well, as we all know, he is obviously with, well, the world's biggest pop star. I don't think you need me to tell you who that is, because I simply hear it way too often to know who it is. I should also mention that even though I do really like San Francisco and their lead quarterback, Brock Purdy, I also quite like the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is a great player, and he definitely will get a Super Bowl under his belt before too long. It's only a matter of time before he does it. I am forgetting to blink. I think my eyes might be burning just a little bit. But either way, I'm still racing. But yeah, I mean, I would honestly say that while the main team I support is San Francisco, I, along with many other fans, I also quite like Buffalo. I think Buffalo are also a great team. And I'm definitely hopeful in saying that Josh Allen will manage to get Buffalo that much needed Super Bowl win someday. He's definitely got it in him. And I have a feeling he will do it someday. That's just how amazing he really is. So Santos finished in second, with 2 Scars third, and Snowman finishing fourth. As I set the top overall speed of 158, and an average speed of 114. As I beat Santos to the line by 3.35 seconds. Point I'm trying to make is, I just like the NFL.
All units monitoring. A driver associated to street racing was just seen eastbound on Chancellor Way.
Okay. And going back to the safe house again, so I don't have to get chased by cops again. Because I don't want that. And we just have the Speed Trap event. North Bay and Seaside. Our final race event for Blacklist 10. So here we go. As we've got a Lotus Elise, a Chevy Corvette, and a Fiat Punto in this event. 3 very different cars. Or should I say, if you include me, 4 very unique cars in pretty much one race. As I start this off with the speed of 139 in Sector 1. Now I have to get through the other speed trap sectors with similar numbers. So setting the pace so far over Atom, as Han now jumps into second with Tencent currently 4th. Hopefully I can continue to set the pace, as I now set 161 and go straight into that right-handed wall, but either way, still doing okay for now. I think I do still have the lead, yes I do, even though I might have lost some speed there a little bit, but I think we should be okay with this. And off the final corner, and there we go. Easy win with a top total speed of 578 miles an hour. 202 miles an hour faster than Han. Atom then finished in 3rd, and it was Tencent who finished 4th. To put it simply, I was very dominant. As the next best speed was 376. Okay, anyway, let's now exit this before the cops become involved again. As you all know, I obviously don't want that. But there we go. So that is now all 8 race events done, and we are now back up to 60 grand in terms of our winnings. And now, after recording this for an hour and 17 minutes, I am going to save the game, which means there will have to be some editing involved with this. There is a reason why I'm splitting these up into 2, by the way, if you're asking. But anyway, there we go. Race events are down, and now we just have to get the bounty to go after Baron.